Work makes free. That's all it is. And you know what? Auschwitz is their blueprint.
Yes.
And I'll tell you, work makes free made people go, oh, if we just work hard enough.
Yeah.
They already had it all.
This is disgusting, man. Seriously, to say something like this, to compare Democrats to Nazis this way is disgusting, debased, morally debased. The saying was work will set you free in Germany because they had work camps. And they said, if you work for long enough in these camps, you will be released or whatever. They also, Germans were forbidden from quitting their jobs for a while there. It had to pass through the state if you wanted to quit or be fired. Really interesting.
Game planned out. You will live approximately 3 months with no food or water, being worked to death.
Yeah.
And people went, oh.
Okay, you will die after 3 days. It's the rule of 3. 3 days without water. No. 3 minutes without air. 3 days without water. 3 weeks without food. That's what will kill you. The average lifespan of some concentration camps is like 2 to 5 years. But some of them were only a few months because they gave them nothing but water most of the time. Some got like bread on occasion. Some got small pieces of bread, just long enough to kind of drag them along and sustain them enough to get them to like produce things. So clothing for soldiers and things like that is what they were doing. And then they would just die. Or breaking rocks with hammers and stuff. That was a common job. And when they'd collapse, the guards would force the prisoners to walk up and throw buckets of water on them to wake them up out of their, after passing out. And when they wake up, they go right back to work. It got to the point where people literally died of exhaustion. Imagine working so hard that your body collapses. You literally, like, your muscles shut down and you are incapable of controlling them any longer. And then they force you to stand up and continue. And if you don't, then they'll shoot you. So you continue working until your body dies. That's nuts, right? I'm sorry, that was a little bit of a kind of an aside, but I thought it was an interesting kind of part of history that they're referring to right now.
We just work hard enough.
Yeah.
They already had it all game planned.
And 7 days if you watch the cursed VHS tape. There you go.
What Auschwitz is there?
I'm sorry. That was The Ring, wasn't it? Was that The Ring? I remember that movie. That was a really good movie, actually. I liked it a lot. I don't like gore. Like, the Saw movies kind of sucked, in my opinion. But, horror films about, like, ghosts or whatever, those are pretty interesting to me.
Their blueprint.
Yes.
And I'll tell you, work makes free made people go, oh, if we just work hard enough.
Yeah.
They already had it all game planned out. You will
Game planned out. Why does she keep saying the word game?
live approximately 3 months with no food or water, being worked to death.
Yeah.
And people went, oh, if we work, we'll be free.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll
This is just made up. They have no idea what they're talking about.
be free of a body.
You'll be free of a body. You're
You
making a body.
like Klaus Hitler says there.
Schwab, right.
Klaus Schwab, the head of the World Economic Forum. Oh my God, dude. There's no secret conspiracy about this, okay?
You will
Own
own
nothing.
nothing and you'll be happy because
Right.
you'll be dead as a mother.
That's right. That's
Oh, please. I'm sorry. I have to address this again. I'm going to make it quick, though, if you've heard it. The World Economic Forum is just like, it's an organization, a worldwide, like an international nonprofit NGO with the United Nations, basically. The WEF is, I believe. And the whole point of the WEF is to identify problems in society worldwide. Like, if there is an African country that's having like an outbreak of polio or something, they will calculate out how much money would be needed to produce enough polio vaccines to stop this epidemic from spreading any further. So they'll calculate out we need like $50 million to produce enough vaccines to stop this. And they'll go to the WEF. They will go to like Bill Gates and Elon Musk and a bunch of other rich donors, and they'll ask them for the 50 million. And, they'll do it. They'll give them 50 million and they'll fix these problems in society. And the WEF organizes all of that. So that's really good. That's something that we need in society. But when COVID came around, the World Economic Forum, headed by Klaus Schwab, I believe Klaus Schwab said, now is a good time for a reset, like a societal economic reset to make the world's economies more beneficial to the workers rather than to the 1% filthy rich elites. And all of a sudden, seemingly out of nowhere, a conspiracy theory emerged, started spreading all over the place about how the WEF and Klaus Schwab are trying to blah, 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 control you and make you eat bugs and all this other shit. It's insane. Absolutely insane.
That's exactly it.
But you'll
I'm
be
gonna
happy.
go smoke on that. I'll be right back.
All right.
Okay.
I
But
love
you
it.
guys can keep talking.
Yeah. Unless you want to take a break, I just.
No, I'm good. Let's go.
So 22.
You
So.
guys talk boy stuff.
Yeah, that's what they're trying to do, Roseanne. Please stop interrupting. Jesus.
So I had tried to say this not too long ago on one of our podcasts when I was talking about January 6th and other things.
Oh,
I realized that the enemy kind of waits for sort of a powder keg moment. They let you in and then they toss the match, right? It seems
I don't have any idea what he's talking about.
to me that 2020 election, the stuff with the voting machine, the switches on camera, the vote changing,
Yeah.
when you say it's game planned or game theoried, they knew how we'd
Well, no,
respond.
January 6th was game theory.
No, that's what I'm saying. No, I'm agreeing with that.
They needed grandmas to walk through.
Oh my God, is she going to talk to them or not? Like, sit at the mic or don't.
So they could say they were terrorists.
Here's
No,
what
that's what I'm saying.
let's
But
go-
we were angry. We were there at the stop.
were
the
blind
steal
by anger.
because we knew that they stole the
Right.
election. So we
Here's-
were there.
Here's the deal.
But what I'm saying, they marched. They knew that we were angry. They knew we would be centralized. They knew we'd be in a location, and they
Right.
thought, "Shit, the people are rising up above us. Let's
It's
switch
bigger
this
than
to
that.
work for." Okay, well,
it
blow
goes
my
back a
mind.
little further.
Okay.
If you want to understand what happened on January 6th, now I just kind of
Oh my God, these people are so full of shit.
want to go in the book so you understand.
Yeah.
I am the lone person in December of 2020 saying in the last 2 weeks or the last week of December 2020, please do not go to Washington, D.C. on
Yeah.
January 6th. It's a setup.
Yeah,
And I'm begging people. And I said, I know you love President Trump.
But it wasn't a setup. Trump was just trying to get people to overthrow the government for him. It wasn't like some cabal secret, blah, 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 whatever. My God.
And we should show your support from afar. Do not go. Here's what I saw. The Whitmer, first off, we started seeing for the first time in history, he's not going to relinquish power.
Mhm.
He's not going to change over power. That was the first rhetoric we started hearing.
Yeah.
And it was out there about a little bit more than 60 days out.
right. I remember this.
And they kept
Well, I mean, leading up to the election, months ahead of time, Trump was claiming election fraud, like before it even happened, long before it happened. So, of course, people worried he wouldn't, like, give up power. That's one of the things that makes our democracy function, is the fact that people give up power at the end of their terms. It's like as disturbing as it gets that somebody might just choose not to give up power. Like, holy shit. It's throwing us into a dictatorship. Real concerning stuff.
to say he's not gonna turn over power. He's not gonna leave office.
Right.
And it came out of nowhere.
Right.
But everybody was talking about it.
Right.
Then all of a sudden, we had the supposed Whitmer kidnapping in Michigan.
Right.
Right. No, she wasn't kidnapped, but there was an attempt. Yeah. It was an attempt to kidnap her and then execute her on live TV by an extremist group.
Entrapment case with the FBI.
Right?
Was not a case of entrapment. They're completely full of shit here.
Now we know that was a con.
Yeah.
But
It wasn't a con.
here's what they needed. That was game theory. They gamed that out, so they had a news narrative to talk. These people are willing to do it.
Yeah.
We get past the Whitmer thing. The guy who orchestrated the Whitmer thing, he gets bumped to run Washington, D.C. now. He's the guy on the ground in D.C.
I'm not sure what he's talking about. Which guy? If you don't know what happened with Gretchen Whitmer, it was an extremist group, a pro-Trump extremist group, of course, that like planned to kidnap Gretchen Whitmer and did this whole thing that they were going to do, like scoped out the bridges near her house and planted explosives near them to blow it up and make it harder for the police to respond when the 911 call went out to that she was in distress and everything else. They were planning on getting her. Guy's name was Barry something. I don't remember what. Anyway, he was a white supremacist. And they had an FBI agent embedded in the group and another FBI informant in the group. So anyway, they planned to go to her house, and they were on their way. They were driving to her house when the FBI picked them up, basically. Explosives planted and everything. And they sent them to prison and charged them with a crime. They went all the way to trial, and it was overturned. They were acquitted on trial. But the FBI informant that helped the FBI stop this was imprisoned for 4 years because he took a plea bargain. The risk was 4 years now, or the possibility of 25 years or whatever if the trial doesn't go my way. So he chose 4 years now, and all the rest got out of it. Really sad and disgusting. It was not like some fraudulent fake whatever. This is 100% real. This really happened.
Get past the Whitmer thing. The guy who orchestrated the Whitmer thing, he gets bumped to run Washington, D.C. now.
I'm assuming he's saying that the FBI planned the Gretchen Whitmer thing. No, they had an FBI informant in the group.
He's the guy on the ground in D.C. And then,
was it overturned on a technicality? Yeah, basically. They claimed that the FBI encouraged them to do it, convinced them to go capture Gretchen Whitmer. And they wouldn't have done it otherwise, unless the FBI, whatever, which is obviously complete bullshit. The FBI can come to me and try to talk me into taking out Gretchen Whitmer until they're blue in the face. I'm not going to do it. Anyway, whatever.
Then now you put that together with, okay, increased rhetoric. Oh my God, now they're doing it. They did it to Whitmer. He's now in DC. He's organizing it. And then all of a sudden you look at Bernie a different way when he said it's going to be the mail-in ballots.
Right. Dude, can you get over this already? Bernie Sanders did not reveal some voter fraud or some other shit.
Biden's going to be Biden, but Trump's going to refuse to leave office.
Right.
They game planned every bit of it.
Why does he keep saying the word game?
Out, which is why Pelosi had a camera crew there.
Right.
Every bit of that was game theory planned out.
What? Pelosi had a camera crew where? What are they going on about right now?
I agree.
Period. Now, I even said, okay, they're going to say insurrection first, but then they're going to have to change from insurrection because they're going to say conspiracy. They stopped insurrection and coup. They're going to say conspiracy so they can throw a wider net because conspiracy has looser rules.
Okay. I mean, why does the government have to go through any of this trouble in the first place? This problem that he's describing is made up.
Than insurrection or coup.
Right.
This is all game theory. Every bit of that was planned.
How is this game theory?
You go back now and you watch, they always tell us
ahead of time.
Who is they?
Always seed it. They get people to talk about it. They push it out and boom, here it is. In all of this, this was a con job between what happened in 2020 is they already tell you he was going to be a criminal when they had no indications of it.
Right.
They already told you.
Who, Donald Trump's going to be a criminal? I mean, no, we had indications he's going to be a criminal. He has been a criminal this entire time. Do you know how many lawsuits he's been involved in? Something like 5,000 lawsuits over 30 years, many of which happened between 2005 and 2020, I believe. It's insane. Absolutely insane. He's a criminal. Do you know that Australia denied his gambling license, to run a casino there because of his ties to the mob, I believe? Do you know that he was investigated by the FBI twice for money laundering and Russian involvement? They believed that he was laundering Russian money, I believe, through his casinos. Casinos don't just fail. You can rig the machines to pay out as little or as much as you want them to pay out. You literally can't lose at a casino. You can set them to pay out 80% of the time, and now you're making 20% right off the top, no matter what happens. It's just it's so insane to me how these people think.
He's not going to leave office.
Right.
They had already defined that you're a domestic terrorist.
Mm-hmm.
They already looked at you as an audience and said, okay, these flags. To have an army, you need a common uniform, red hat.
Right.
They already put.
Did somebody say that? Did somebody claim that Donald Trump's red hat was a military uniform? Trump's bid for a Sydney, Australia casino 30 years ago rejected due to mafia connections. A bid by Trump to build Sydney's first casino was rejected 30 years ago after police expressed concerns about his links to the mafia. So there you go. Donald Trump was, in fact, rejected for like a gambling thing because of his ties to the mob. He's a criminal. He's always been a criminal. Everybody has known that he was a criminal, a scumbag, looking for some way to take advantage of others. That's been his MO all along.
Everything in place to do it. And then when you combine that with it was the machines and they swapped the votes, they played a flawless plan on us that could never be proven, but the media would carry it.
Could never be proven.
They knew stuff would be.
Is he saying that the plan that they had to hurt to hurt Republicans could never be proven true? It could never be proven that this plan was real? Interesting. Curious.
Be taken to court, but they needed it as eliminated as quick as they could to get it out. And that's how they did it.
Yeah.
It was all pre-planned out, and we fell for it. We fell for it because to this day, people say those voting machines, I saw it, they changed the vote. You saw something on TV that has nothing to do with the voting machine.
Yeah. It's hook, line, and sinker.
Yes. It was all psychological warfare.
Because I would...
Oh my God, dude! These people need help. Seriously.
I said this is the number one thing to me. I've been consistent in social media and in my personal life about 2020 being mass election fraud.
Yes.
And that Biden did not receive it. Obviously, I'm hardly the only one, but the thing I would get back from family members that were concerned about my mental well-being was, well, none of the court cases went through. Trump tried to it was thrown out. There's no evidence. But even Bill Barr, when you hear
by design, they are fabricating so many fear-mongering conspiracy theories and finding some way to like frame it up like it was all a plot. This is insane. That's so interesting. So he has family members that tell him that they believe that he's mentally ill. Wow. That is really interesting. I mean, Roseanne's family believes that about her, and they refuse to speak to her now because she's so like lost, you know, and that affects Roseanne like really deeply, actually.
And you've been talking to some of your Democrat.
By the way, this dude is Roseanne's son, so it's probably the same family members.
Friends, what was their reaction? Were they surprised that Biden pulled out of the race?
I still have Democrat kids. Oh, God help me! And my mom too is still a Democrat.
We've got to convert them, Roseanne.
I tried like hell, and my brother, my gay sister, they're all, I tried like hell. Now they don't even talk to me. I try to text them, and they don't even take my text.
And she's like just torn up about it, which I don't blame her. The point is that like nobody wants to talk to Roseanne anymore in her family, or nobody wants to talk to her or apparently her son.
Whatever.
Roseanne, we still love you here at Newsmax, so we're going to...
My God, dude, it's insane. Anyway, really sad stuff. Truthfully, I'm so sad that these people are so lost in their own heads.
Hear their stuff play back to you.
Design. Yep.
You know that I never at any point thought, oh, they know better than me. I go, oh, they're brainwashed, because they were also game theoried. They were fed.
What do they mean when they say game theoried in this context? What are they talking about?
The same thing on the other side. Look at your fellow Americans. They believe this voting machine. There's no proof. Tucker's off the air for lying. Dominion. They played both of us. We're all at each other's throats. Right. The truth is, they did steal 2020. Yes. Joe Biden.
But they didn't. And who is they, once again?
Did not defeat Donald Trump, and we can prove it.
Well, think about their words.
They won't let us prove it.
You must count every vote.
Right.
What type of votes should you really count?
My God, this is so stupid. Obviously, the implication when you say count all the votes is all of the votes of people that are legally allowed to vote. This is insane.
I don't know. What do you mean?
Okay, let's just take their words. I'm doing
Legal?
I'm doing a regression.
Okay.
They
Gotcha.
said
Must count
every vote must count. If
Every
you were to
legal
state
vote.
it correctly, how would you say it?
Every legal vote should
There you
count.
go. Now that was not what they were saying.
No, every vote.
Oh my God, dude. This is like their whole thing with Black Lives Matter. They say all lives matter, not Black Lives Matter, not just Black Lives. Well, yeah, that's what was meant by Black Lives Matter. They're assuming that, people are necessarily excluding every other life. It's like saying white lives don't matter. Like, what? No, the term is really Black Lives Matter too. Black Lives Matter in addition to all the other lives. That's the saying. That's what it means. Are you really so stupid as to think that people are saying white lives don't matter when they say that? Really? This is the same shit. Count every vote. Are you really so stupid as to think that Democrats meant count the fraudulent votes? Really? They can't possibly be this unknowledgeable on the subject or this dense, can they? Is it possible?
Vote should matter.
They were saying every vote must count.
Right.
They knew what they were saying, and they make
Who is they?
no distinction between whether it's a good vote, bad vote, illegal vote, whatever the case may be. It's just every vote must count. And that's how the system works.
Wow.
Oh my God.
They tell you exactly. You and I now know, and we know now, and I shared with you a lot of what these words mean. What they really should have been saying, which they would never say, is every legal vote must count.
Right. Every legal vote.
He's playing word games right now and claiming that everybody else around him is playing word games.
Vote should count.
So you got to understand.
I'm sorry, some people don't get their past participles correct every time.
Some of these movements. Let's talk about, you want to talk about what happened in 2020? You want to talk about what we're facing now? Where do you want to go?
Well, I think we've covered 2020 enough. So yeah.
I got hardcore facts if you want to hear some hardcore facts.
Yeah, let's stick on it. I mean, to me, it's the most, because if you can prove Biden and the Democrats stole 2020, and by extension, you and I have talked off air, but we both know this and we agree. It's not just Democrats. Republicans still.
Republicans are just as bad.
Right.
And by the way, in my
Oh my God, dude.
fight you got to understand, I spent personally millions of dollars to develop this technology. And
this dude has millions of dollars? How is it that he has millions of dollars and a haircut like this?
Do it. And I'm not even a citizen of Arizona. Right? They had to suppress the paper.
Right.
It's that simple. They had to suppress the paper. And so when you understand it, they knew that I'm the only person in American history that has looked at 2 million ballots personally and looked at 189 million ovals.
He looked at 2 million ballots personally. Is that what he said? Do you know how long that would have taken him to sift through? Not even reading them, just physically looking at them one at a time. Do you know how long that would have taken him? If he did it 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, it would take him 3.5 months of looking through the ballots one at a time, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week.
And I'll give you a little bit of that history, and you should hear this. The public, just like you, when you saw me come out with it could be a fold, the public goes, oh, that makes perfect sense. Supposed to be mail-in. So the public pushed Arizona only because
only because they needed Arizona to go to Donald Trump. That was one of them. Arizona and Georgia, they needed to go to Donald Trump for him to win. And even then, he would have had to have flipped another state, I think. He had an uphill battle. If this had been close, Trump may actually still be in office. Like, if it had come down to Arizona or Nevada, and that's it, it might have gone, like, Trump may have been able to flip people, to threaten them and to get them to change their interpretation or lie or whatever. But it was multiple states. I mean, how many would he have needed? Here you go. 270towin.com. Awesome website, by the by. 2020, this is the actual map of 2020, the 2020 presidential election, okay? So Donald Trump would have had to have flipped Arizona and Georgia, and he would still be behind. He would have had to have taken Nevada, and that still wouldn't have gotten him there. He also would have had to take either Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, or Pennsylvania, one of those four. Any one of those four. Or he could have lost Nevada and just taken one of the four, and that would have put him past 270. So he would have needed a minimum of 4 states, depending on the state, 4 or 5 states to switch. Georgia, Nevada, Arizona, I believe, were the closest. The others weren't really close. Yeah, so at least 4 states is the point. And you know, everybody recognized that it's not happening. Like, you can maybe feasibly flip 1, but not 4 or 5.
The fastest case that got to court that had standing. It's all about how you file it. Now, part of the rig for 2020 is...
So you're telling me that Donald Trump's lawyers were too stupid to file a lawsuit correctly? Is that what you're communicating to me right now?
Is you have to file your election grievance, depending upon the state, within 3 to 5 days.
Right.
Oh
But
my
all the
God.
courts were closed for 30 plus days because of COVID. But they...
I have never heard that before. I don't know what he's talking about. And no, courts would have opened specially. They would have gone to a judge for this. That is not how our system works in the United States.
still held those guidelines.
Wow.
But anyway, one of the cases in Arizona
Wow, he says.
got in, so they had standing. So now in all of this, the American public, which recognizes truth, I'm just saying very simply, if it was a mail-in ballot,
Should be folded.
they should be folded. Let's just look at the folds. It will tell
Yeah, I have no idea what he's talking about right now.
us the truth. America caught it. So they pushed on Arizona. So I got in this thing, they're going to choose a technology team, which is Cypher, Ben Cotton, and he's going to look at the drives and stuff like that. And then you got Cyber Ninjas, Doug Logan's going to manage the thing. And then it was...
Yeah, Cyber Ninja famously went through all of the ballots for Maricopa County and recounted them and had cameras pointed at it, like when they were counting and everything else. And they, after doing all this stuff, came to find that, in fact, Biden won by a wider margin than initially expected. But it didn't really matter because the point is that he won. And it wasn't close enough for Donald Trump to have, like, made up the difference. It just wasn't. And election forecasters have a special category of mathematics called delegate math, basically, where they hire like mathematicians to sit in the offices of a place called News Desk. I think it's called News Desk or News Desk HQ or something. Anyway, these mathematicians run calculations based on past data and which areas are not counted yet, and the percentage that's come in based on which ballots have been counted so far, mail-in or in person or early votes or whatever. I mean, it's real complicated stuff, and they have to run all of these complex calculations to figure out if a county is likely to flip the state, and if the state's likely to flip the election. They make those calls. News Desk HQ is what I think it's called. Is that it? Yeah, Decision Desk. I'm sorry, it's called Decision Desk HQ. Yeah, Decision Desk HQ basically is this group of mathematicians that run all of this delegate math. So anyway, this delegate math has existed for like a really long time, and it has been like run in calculations forever. So all of this shit, like none of the election was not a surprise to anybody that runs these calculations. The people at Decision Desk HQ knew what was going to happen and why and when and everything.
My team, that we're going to do the forensics for the first time in history of a presidential election. Now, you got to understand Maricopa.
Forensics, he says.
Maricopa is the 4th largest county in the United States of America.
I did not know that.
It is the 2nd largest single voting block of people.
Don't believe a word out of his mouth, okay? Look it up directly yourself. He's not a trustworthy source at all.
In the United States of
Did not
America,
know
the
that.
2nd largest.
Yeah.
And as that group, it's even larger than a lot of states of total voters. So this was monumental. And so the public started saying, we want, which I said, I went on and did interviews, if we're going to understand what happens, we must do a full forensic audit. I already knew this little bullshit stuff wouldn't work. And so the government, the senators and stuff playing games says, okay, we'll do a full forensic audit. Well, the whole time they're delaying getting the ballots. And they start, lawsuits for this, lawsuits for that. And they don't sue unless they don't want you to find. And so I'm going to give you some highlights so you understand what that battle was. Number one is, as we're getting ready to do the audit, I was on a call with lawmakers, and they said the following: we're only going to look at a few ballots. We've decided we're just going to look at a few ballots. Now,
Yeah, I don't have any idea what he's talking about.
just ran that trick with you and showed you. Can't find anything. And I said, okay, if you're only going to look at a few ballots, I have standards. Screw you. I'm not going to do it.
Right.
I either look at everything or nothing, because I can't find anything with partiality, and you know it.
His, God, what's the word I'm looking for here? He has an absolutely insufferable attitude. I cannot get past his hubris, his obsession with himself. It drives me insane.
Right.
Well, what they did is they actively, collectively applaud and go, great, we got this asshole out of our hair. And then I said to them, but I want to let you know one thing. I'm just going to tell the public what you're planning. So on my program, I went out and told the public, and they got 60.
The public? I've never heard of that. He told who? The public?
60,000 phone calls the next 24 hours to the switchboard in Arizona.
Oh, so you're telling me that you directed people to harass others, stochastic terrorism style. Okay, cool.
And it cratered them. They say, okay, we're going to do the full forensic audit.
Great job.
Now, that's why you got to understand, it's the people that have the power. So the people made it happen. Now, here comes the con. I'm going to show how many cons were in this. So I'm doing all of this stuff, and I get a call as we're getting ready, and they said, Jovan, because you're so controversial, would you consider not being on the ground in Arizona, because we think people are going to protest, the left's going to attack you, whatever. And I said, sure, no problem. I don't have to be there and do it. And so we're teaching everybody to do everything. And you have images of these. I did.
Interesting. So he's claiming that Maricopa County officials asked him to be involved, but do it behind the scenes secretly so that nobody knows that he's involved. That is really interesting, isn't it? But didn't want him front center. Okay, close enough. Wow, that's wild.
Did all the color teams, because if we were looking at this as a table, if you're on the green table, and I'll show you how it's set up. If you're on the green table, but I see you over here with the blue, what the hell are you doing out of your space? So I designed the colors based upon my exploration background, where I know everybody's in their right
exploration background, he says.
place. And then as they're doing the paperwork, let's call it the
Yeah, and then everyone clapped, exactly.
pink team, yellow team, all of their paperwork looking for everything is on yellow paper. It's so I can track and understand everything. It's the first time in history we're using forensics to do it. Well, a few things.
The hell does that mean, using forensics? Forensics is not like a set of tools or something, right? It's just like an approach.
Happened before we got to the audit. The first thing is they wouldn't let us look at the warehouse where the ballots were. So we fight about it. Second thing is the DNC sent in hundreds and hundreds, about 1,000 different attorneys to sue to stop it. Next, we get a phone call that says, okay, we got all the ballots gathered up. They're on a truck. Come get it. It's just sitting outside. Well, that's never supposed to happen.
No.
Well, okay. You telling me that that Maricopa County drove a bunch of ballots out to like the side of the road, on the side of like a highway, open top, somewhere flying out the sides, and they told you to just pick them up because they don't want them anymore? And then you went and picked them up, and it turns out that they were all for Biden or some other shit, or they were all for Trump? Please. This guy is so full of shit. Every word out of his mouth.
And I'm telling everybody inside him saying, don't you dare go pick up those ballots. It's a trap, because it's all supposed to be done with chain of custody.
Right.
He's misusing chain of custody here. This is insane. Anyway, tell me what you think about it in the comments. These people need help for real.